Welcome, everybody. This is Bitrix24 Live, your opportunity to ask questions and get answers from our Bitrix24 experts. I am Damien Edwards, the commercial manager of Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface, and with me today I've got one of our Bitrix24 experts, Andy Naylor.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us today. So I am the head of customer success here at Interface, and throughout this live stream, please do put your questions in the box provided and we can answer them as we go through this session.
So let's jump into our first question. We have had some questions in via email during the week, so let's start with those. I'm taking Bitrix24 for a test drive. How customizable is the extranet stroke portal on Bitrix? Can be customized, can't it? I think if you want a self-hosted edition.
Yeah, absolutely. So the self-hosted edition brings a lot more customized features. So if I just jump into our on-premise version here, if we go into the left-hand menu, we've got a custom link to our extranet. So if we jump into this in here, this is just a small example of what you could do. We've done quite a few different customizations in the extranet. On the right-hand side, what you'll see is we've got some custom banners in here. So we've got a banner that goes to support to the webinars and one that they can talk directly with us. But we have actually created dashboards in the extranet. So when somebody arrives after logging in, you can have a grid of blocks in here rather than a left-hand menu, the feed, and a right-hand section. So really, yeah, with the on-premise, you can pretty much do whatever you like. I think, yeah, as we say, we've done some customizations on here. With regards to the cloud version, you are going to struggle to customize the extranet. I think the only thing that you would be able to do is configure the menu to a certain degree. You'd be able to hide menu items for your extranet users. But that's probably the limitations of what you would have on the cloud product. So yeah, those are your two options. If you're looking to customize it heavily, I'd probably recommend getting a partner involved to help you with the design and the layout of what you want it to look like.
Yeah, you really can create your own branded portal, can't you? I think we've done quite a lot of quite complex customization. So it's a pretty good use case, really. If you want to invite customers in or suppliers into your own sort of branded area, then it's a really good use case. Next question. When using the automation, it says work days. How do I set my working day parameters?
Okay, so if we jump into the automation, I think I know what you're referring to in here. So if we just jump into the automation rules, what we can do is, if we go into one of these automation rules that are already configured, I think when we look at the ability to run, so we might want to have it this particular automation trigger 5 minutes before the current time, or a specific date field and time field. We've got this option, working hours only. Now, what you can do in Bitrix is specify your working day parameters, and it's in exactly the same place on the on-premise version as it is on the cloud version. And you can click into settings here in the left-hand menu. If you just scroll down, you can see in here we have working time parameters, so 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then you can set your own weekends. So again, the normal Saturday, Sunday, but obviously if you are in different regions, Friday, Saturday might be your weekend, and so on and so forth. So that is where you would configure, and then that's where the automation rules, when you select that working day parameter, you can, it will run from this that you set.
Okay. Is there a way to add permissions to who sees email templates within the CRM?
So within the CRM, we click onto the CRM in here, and then if we go into any one of our leads, let's say, for example, for those of you that are fairly new to Bitrix, we have this template option up here. And at the moment, you can see we have a whole range of templates that we can use to send out to the particular lead itself. So we can click on lead, thank you. That would then pre-populate the information in that email. With regards to permissions, so we are going to struggle as a default. So if you click into email in here and click into email templates, this is where we set it up. Now, if you're an administrator, then you can click on add email template. And because you're an administrator, you will be able to have the available to everyone option in this top right hand corner. So that is generally all you would get out of the box with Bitrix on the cloud and the on-premise, this available to everybody. If you don't select this, it will just be available to yourself. Now, everybody has the ability to create email templates, so you can create an email template for yourself. If you're not an administrator, you wouldn't have this option to share it with anybody else. What we have done though, and if it's something that you would be interested in, on the on-premise version of Bitrix, we have, for a couple of our clients, created the ability to add permissions, to make templates available to departments, make templates available to individual employees and individual users. And essentially what we've created would be an option just below the email box itself, called access permissions in here, and then you would be able to select, as you normally would do in any other area of Bitrix, a department, all department employees, all department and sub-department employees, and yeah, individual users. So we have created that previously. It is quite good. It's quite a good feature, obviously, if you've got a lot of templates, and we do have clients that have into the tens of templates for contacts and deals. So it might be like you have 60, 70 templates for different varieties of emails. The ability to restrict them to see based on a department is really good, because that department might only want to see 5 or 10 of those particular emails rather than the full list. So yeah, again, it's something that is customizable on the on-premise, but on the cloud and the on-premise is standard. Only an administrator can make them available to everybody. Otherwise, they're just available to yourself.
Yeah, quite a few of these questions come in because the feature requested is not doable as standard and requires customization. But usually anything can be customized, anything can be achieved with some customization. So if you've got if you've got a feature you require, you can't find how to do it, then it's almost definitely doable in one way or another. So ask the question.
I think that's it, isn't it? I think with regards to Bitrix, a lot of the questions that we pick up on, because it's quite an intuitive system anyway, and you can usually see if it can do it or not. These questions do come in because, yeah, it's generally it's not there, is it? So yeah, so we try and expand on the possibilities sometimes of being able to accomplish what you're after through a little bit of customization.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question. Is there a way to mark dates that marketing campaigns are going to be sent out for other departments to access? So I guess this is in the marketing module, isn't it? Probably email campaigns and those sort of things.
Yeah, I think, well, and I know who this one came from, and so this one came through earlier in the week, and what they wanted to really know was how to show your marketing plan to other members of the company. Now, what we would generally recommend, there's two ways of going about this, is that if we go into our calendar, what we could do in here is we could essentially put the marketing campaign into our calendar. So everybody would be able to see on the company calendar on here where this campaign was being set. So you can see we've got a sales campaign going out on the 5th of October. And then for the following month, we could skip to it, and then you'd be able to see the next campaign and so on and so forth. And it might be that when we do that, we might want to add it, we might want to create a brand new calendar that everybody has access to. And I can show you how to do that in a moment, just called the marketing calendar. And then people can show and hide that calendar to overlay on their own. And it just gives everybody a little bit of transparency about when these campaigns are being sent out. So if I was to say that this was a Bitrix24 promotion on here, and then I could schedule it for, let's just say it's going to be Friday the 4th. You can say it's an all day. And then I can add it, it's here, add it to the company interface calendar, click on save, and then everybody with access to that calendar would be able to see it like it is on here. Now, what I've seen other people do is create their own marketing calendars. So in here, we could create marketing campaigns maybe. You can give it a color so it's distinctive and everybody knows that, for example, the pink events on a particular calendar will be the marketing campaigns that are being sent out. And then we can give everybody full access to be able to view it. And then what that will do is that when we go to add an event in here, I can click on marketing campaigns and it would put the campaign into that particular calendar. So that's quite useful, I think, to do it that way. The other ways of doing it, and how you should really, if you're in the marketing department, what we generally recommend is to create a work group. And if you were to create a work group for your marketing department, you can also create the calendar inside there and be able to share that calendar with the rest of the company. So, because a work group is really good to house departments, because all of your marketing campaigns can go onto the calendar for the work group, but it has a drive where you can put your marketing assets into there. So your logos, your images, your email templates into the particular marketing drive in the work group. And then you obviously have marketing related tasks, and you can assign those tasks to that marketing work group as well. That's how we tend to find how people manage and schedule their particular marketing strategy inside Bitrix.
Okay, thanks. I've invited a user to Bitrix, but they haven't received the invite. Is there a way I can resend it?
Okay, so if they haven't invited it, first of all, I would just ask them to just double check if it's gone into spam or the junk folder for any reason. That possibly could be the case. So that's first port of call. The second, if you've invited a user, then on the on-premise, if you click on employees, on the cloud version, if you click on company in the left-hand menu, it does differ slightly. And then if you go to employees in the top menu up here, what I can do is in this top filter that I see at the top, you should have an invited persons filter in this left-hand menu. So if I was to click on invited persons, then you would be able to see the invited person to this. So let's just invite somebody just quickly. So I could put the at gmail.com. And then in here. So we can just see what it looks like then. And then if I click on invite, and then if I just come out of here, click on company, click back on invited person. So you can see here, we have the person who's been invited. That's where you would see them if they've not already accepted the invitation. Now, if you want to send it to them again, you can click on the little hamburger menu to the left of the employee and click on invite again. If you click on here, you'll see again that they've not accepted the invite. So again, you can click on here and you can click on invite again. That will then send the email to that particular person, and therefore they should receive it from there.
Okay, thank you. Next question, how do I change the language on my system? We are French speaking.
So it's different on different systems. I don't have a cloud system up on the screen at the moment, but what you will see on the cloud is that you will have, if you scroll to the bottom of the system, you will have a languages option in the footer. So you can click on that, and then you would be able to select the language that you'd want. I think there's around about 12 languages is there now available to change it on Bitrix. With the on-premise, it's slightly different. That would be configured in the control panel. So the on-premise, for those of you that are not familiar with it, it does come with a control panel area in here. If I click on control panel, I would then be able to go into the system settings and change the language for the whole system. For the on-premise, you do need to install the language packs. So Bitrix does again have a wide number of language packs available. I recommend just either going on their website, just seeing what's available for each. But I know French is available. So you would be able to either update your cloud version of Bitrix to French, or you would be able to update your on-premise version to French speaking as well.
Okay, very good. I think with the on-premise, it's you can toggle between, if you've got an enterprise edition, you can toggle between languages as well, can't you? Have different editions with different languages, and if you've got operations around the world and in different countries, you want different instances. I think that's possible, isn't it? So
for the toggle, you would need to have a slight customization to your system. There isn't a toggle on the front end of Bitrix on the on-premise. Again, something that we have developed for a number of customers. As you say, it's quite good if you've got multiple divisions on the enterprise version of Bitrix, because you can have a division for the French speaking office, you can have a division for the German speaking office, and so on and so forth. So you would just need to speak with a partner, or if you're a competent developer of Bitrix, you can introduce a toggle. We've done one up near the logo before, haven't we, with country flags, I think it was. So you can certainly do it.
Okay, thank you. What is the next question? What is the process for importing contact information from another system? Our current system is HiRise, so we do this a lot, don't we? I mean, this is when you're migrating from another system onto Bitrix, you're going to want a lot of your data moving over. So we do it a lot, and we do it from lots of different systems, and we're well experienced on doing this type of thing. What is the process, Andy? Simply.
Yeah, so there's a couple of there are a couple of different options that you've got. I mean, the simple version ideally would be to get your data that you want to import into Bitrix into a CSV format. That's the most straightforward option. First thing that you would need to do is get that data into a CSV format. I'm not sure if HiRise provides that, but if it does, then that's great. You would have a CSV that would essentially, the columns of that CSV would give you the fields that you need to have inside Bitrix. Some of them generally are standard. So you've got, for example, if you're importing companies, company name, company email, company phone, they're all the standard fields that exist inside the system. But you may need to create custom fields inside Bitrix first to ensure that when you are importing that CSV into Bitrix, that you can map the relevant fields from your CSV into the fields inside Bitrix. So if I just show you companies, just as a quick example, if I go to this little gear icon up at the top, click on import companies. I just download the import file here. I go into my company in here, scroll down, click on next. What you'll see down this left-hand side are the columns in that particular CSV. What you'll find on the right-hand side are the fields that we're mapping to inside Bitrix. So let's just say, for example, we have annual revenue in our CSV, but it's not recognized inside Bitrix. So what you would need to do is you would just need to find the relevant field to map that column from your CSV into Bitrix. So as I say, there are quite a lot of standard fields inside here already, but you'll want to import company-specific information, your industry-specific information. So you would just need to go into your CRM settings, click into here, click into form and report settings, and then click into custom fields. And then that's where you can create all your fields. The other way of doing an import would be to click on little gear icon, and you can see we have migrate from other CRM. So when we click on that, you'll be able to see that these are the available applications that you can use to migrate from one system to another. So I don't think Highrise is on there in this case, but if you've got Pipedrive, you can bring that over using the tool here. They are free, as you can see, the integrations, and I don't believe there are any in-app purchases in here. So Asana again, Trello, there's some quite popular ones, isn't there, I think. So that's the other way of doing it. And then the final way would be via the API, because there are some limitations into importing using the CSV. You can't bring in activities. So if you've got a history of emails, let's say, for example, attached to a company in Highrise, you wouldn't be able to bring that history of information in through a CSV import. It will only allow you to import the static fields. So if you're wanting that history, then we sort of have to either look at the integration options on the screen here, or we look at importing via the API and importing that kind of activity into Bitrix using that method. And again, that would require somebody that is experienced with the API side of Bitrix to do that.
Definitely. I think if you're importing just standard records, it's quite straightforward, isn't it? If you want to start importing activity, then you're probably going to need to speak to a partner to do that, as Andy says, through the API or some other method to do that. It gets quite complicated because you've got to decide where to map that data to. So where does that type of activity go sit inside of Bitrix? And all those activities need to be mapped to the right fields or multiple fields and records. So, but it's something we do a lot. So don't let it put you off. We can move your site over from any other system into Bitrix. We can create a development environment for you to test your data before you're happy, before you can confirm you're happy with it and want to go live with users in the system. So we create a whole plan and a process, and manage the process for you. Okay, next question. We want our sales team to be able to easily see details about a client project after the deal is won. How would you show project information in a client's page?
Okay, so there are a couple of ways that you can do this in terms of linking projects to the CRM side of things. So in here, we would click on customers, go into companies, and then you can see here we have a list of different companies. So if we went into Bread Limited, just for example, what we could do, first of all, is the quickest and easiest option is that we could provide a project workgroup link inside a new section. So the CRM and the project side of Bitrix is, well, I say the project side, the workgroup side is quite separated. So we want to bring those two together. So we could add a new section in here called, in fact, we'll call it projects. And then what we could do is we could create just a simple link in here. We could have it multiple as well. And we could call it associated projects. And this, like I say, this is the very simple method of doing it. Now, what I would do in here is if I was to, let's just say, for example, the construction project team in here, I could then go back into Bread Limited in here, scroll down, click on that, click here and click save. And then that would give us a simple link to the project. I could click on that, it would open up, and it would open up my project in here. And that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it that we've looked at recently, and again, it's quite good, we've done it previously for other clients, is that we would have an SPA, essentially. So we would create a smart process automation called projects. And inside that, I think we might have it in here. So you can see in here, we have a smart process automation. If I click on add new project, we have all of the fields that the smart process automation contains. And that might contain, again, a link to the work group inside that. If you're managing your projects inside work groups, that would be good. But theoretically, you could use a smart process automation to manage your projects, because you can have a new project. So let's call it project ABC in here. It's going to be associated to the company. We might not want any financial information in here. We click on save, but what we could do if we'd had it enabled, we don't seem to have it enabled here at the minute, but we could have tasks enabled. So we could have a series of tasks down this right-hand side associated to this particular project, smart process automation. So that would be two ways of doing it. And as you can see, when you're inside the company, you've got transparency of where that particular project is in terms of the progression from start to finish. And you can see more details, and we can show any fields that exist inside the project in here, including pipeline, maybe. So you can see, we can show and hide any of those project fields. So again, that might be a useful way of doing it. Both offer different functionality and flexibility. So yeah, it's worth just testing out and seeing if that would fit your requirements.
I think on that, with that first process, you could automate that a bit as well, couldn't you? I mean, you could create a project group using a business process, and then you could get the URL of that group and populate that field. It should probably take a bit too much time for us to show right now, but you could do that in an automated manner, couldn't you? I think.
Yeah, absolutely, you could. Yes, I mean, a lot of people use these manual business processes. If you're doing it from a company, you could just have a manual business process up here. You click on one that says create project, creates the work group, invites the people to the work group, and then adds the link into that particular field. Okay. So yeah, it's would be quite straightforward to do.
And we recommend and do that quite a lot, don't we? Because not only is it quicker, it sets the project up in a standardized way, so that it generates all the tasks and all the things you need in that project. So it's quicker, but it's also, means that it gets done in the correct way, and the right people get notified, and if you're creating a process rather than doing every task manually.
Yeah, that's one thing that we do here as well, isn't it? So for all our, for example, support clients, we go into the company inside the CRM in Bitrix, click onto the little workflow tool in the top right hand corner, and we just create client project or create client work group. Once we do that, we can then click into the contacts that are associated with the company and invite them into that particular project work group as an extranet group, again, all automatically. So we don't have to go through the manual process of setting up the work group each time, inviting team members and then inviting the client as well. Everything's done through these processes, which again speed up and make things more efficient.
Absolutely. Okay, next question. How do we control the access rights for external users in a project? We like the idea of inviting clients into projects, but are concerned about how much information they could see. So this is a common question, I think, and there is a solution, I believe.
Yeah. So if you have, again, if you're fairly new to the work groups and projects concept inside Bitrix, is that you can create an extranet work group. Therefore, you can invite your clients to that, and they, number one, don't take up any user licenses. An extranet user doesn't take up a user license. And secondly, as you say, you can pretty much lock it down. So if I went into, let's just say, article XYZ in here, and then if we click on About Project at the top right-hand corner, we click on Roles and Permissions, then what you essentially get in a project group is 3 levels of membership. So you have the project owner, who is has the top and most permissions inside the group. You have project members, or in this case, they're called project participants in here. You have project participants, who are the normal members, and you have project assistants or project owners. So project moderators and project assistants. So when you invite an extranet user in, they will become a participant to the lowest level. So what you can do, for example, if we went to tasks and you said, maybe I don't want my extranet users to have the ability to view all tasks, then what we would do, we would increase it up a level and only allow the project owner and assistants to view all tasks. That's quite common because you might not want your clients to see every task inside your project work group that they're not involved in. That doesn't mean that they won't see tasks. If you would like your extranet user, say your client, to see a task, all you would need to do is add them to it, whether you make them responsible, whether you make them a participant in a task, or whether you make them an observer. That will give them then the ability to have access to that particular task. And again, it's quite common to do because, for example, when we're working on a project, we might not want the customer to see every single task that we have. We might have support tasks that they're not involved in, and so on and so forth. So we strategically only add the client to the relative tasks. You don't want to confuse them either, do you? So you can add them into the tasks that you want them to be involved in. So if you go into these permissions, you can see in here, we have forum, photo gallery, tasks. We have the conversations, which is the stream, the feed that you see on here. And then additionally, once we go into the drive or the calendar, they each have their own sets of permissions within it as well. So if I was to go into the drive like I have done on here, then we can click on assign permissions. And then again, you have the owner, moderators, and members. So those 3 levels, exactly the same. So it might be that you don't want to give all the members any access to the documents at all. So when they arrive in the drive, they would not see anything. But because we've got this option checked here, enable extended permission controls, what we might want to do is, let's say we want to give our client access to the research folder. We can click on here, click on access permissions, and I can add either the individual user themselves, so the extranet user, or I could, if we click into here, I could find the all members option for this particular work group and then select it. So if I found, I can't recall what this one was called, but article XYZ, there you go. So we can click into there and allow all group members to be able to see that particular folder. And that makes it quite good because you can set like a hierarchy of permissions then on your folder structure should you want them to be able to see it. And again, you have another level of permissions inside the calendar as well. So you might not want them to have the ability to add events to it. And you can set them within there. So yeah, you can customize all the permissions for your projects as much as you would like.
Okay, thank you. Next question, in lead automation, how do I use trigger? How do I use the trigger email link clicked? If a lead clicks on a link in the welcome email we send them, I want to auto move the lead to the next stage.
So in the CRM, what we have, again, so did we say leads in here? We did. So if we go into the automation rules, first of all, what we would need to do is set up an automation rule for sending an email out, okay? So you can see I've got one here, welcome email, but if I wanted to add another, on the on-premise, it's down here. If you want to add an email automation rule on a cloud, you would just click on create and you'll be able to access that up there. So if I went into client communications, send email, and I could say, thanks for your inquiry. And then in here, the good thing about these emails is you can find out any of the fields. So I could say lead first name and then personalize it a little bit so it's dynamic every time a lead is generated. Please click here to and then we could say thanks interface. So what we would do here is we would just hover over in here. We would just hover over the click here, click on the little link icon at the top on here, and then we could say interface.com/promotions. And the important thing is copy that particular link that you've got in here. Ensure that you have enabled click tracking selected at the bottom on here. You can see that's now a link. If I click on save, you can see that my email is now here. I might want to bring it up to the top. And then if we click on the little trigger option up here, again, this is on an on-premise. For the cloud, you would just click on here for trigger. And then you would click on email link clicked. And then you would paste in the tracking link on here. So the email would get sent. They click on that. It would, because we have click tracking enabled in that email, it would recognize the same the link on the email and move it to the next stage. If I wanted to bring it to 1, again, I could do. A lot of people try and put like the warmth level of a lead, don't they, based on clicking it. So if I sent an email out and somebody clicked it, we could say warm lead on here because they've shown some engagement with the email that has been sent. And it might be that you have another one called hot lead if they click again and so on and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can have you can monitor if they viewed an email, can't you? So that's a lower level. And you
Yeah.
can also then have maybe a form. So if they click on the link and complete a form, then clearly that's an additional stage. So that's a higher level of engagement. You might want to progress the lead on further, or just update the probability or something, a probability field or something. But absolutely, all very straightforward to set up. Okay, one more question, I think, unless we've got any more questions coming in on the chat. We have a Bitrix24 Business 100, and our team are finding the menu very cluttered. Is there a way to remove modules that we don't use to make it cleaner? So you can customize the menu within the on-premise differently, I think, to how you can on the cloud. There's a little bit more you can do, isn't there, I think?
Yeah, I won't be able to show you how to do that on this particular session, but yeah, again, it's quite common because obviously Bitrix comes with a wide range of features and modules inside the system, and they're all in the left-hand menu generally to start off with, unless you don't have permission to access. So if you didn't have permission to access a CRM using the CRM permissions, that would not be available to you. You can obviously click on configure, and you can use the configure menu items to hide. So if we click on, again, on the on-premise, it's more. On the cloud, I think it's hidden. But yeah, you can bring things into that. But that, obviously, people can click onto it and they can see the options in there. With the on-premise version, what we generally do is we can have different user groups to be able to access different menu items. So we put permissions on menu items inside the on-premise version. So it might be that you're in the marketing menu group, that would only show me the CRM, marketing, and drive, just as an example. But therefore, you might be in the sales menu group, and we can see CRM, mail, chat, and maybe contact center or something like that. So yeah, you can do that on the on-premise quite easily. There's a tiny little bit of customization in there, but yeah, that's the most common way. And one of the first things that we talk about with our clients is that we'd want to make it as clear for every user to be able to easily use the system and not feel there's quite a lot of noise where they can click and search around and get a little bit lost. We only want to show them what they need to access. And that's quite common, as I mentioned at the start, because it might be that they're not using, let's just say, tasks and projects. So therefore, we would just restrict that and permissions in the menu for the normal user. And then maybe 2 months down the line, when they're ready to use it, we bring it back for them. But we allow admins to have access to it in the meantime, and they can have a play around with it, configure it how they want it. So therefore, we're only releasing it to the general user once it's ready and once people are quite confident in using the system. And I think that's the best way of doing it, in all honesty.
Yeah. Okay, that looks like the last question that we've had for this time. Thank you very much for joining. If you are an existing user of Bitrix24, then get in touch for help with setup and support. If you're evaluating Bitrix24 at the moment, then get in touch as well, and we can provide you with a tailored demonstration of the system. But thanks again for joining today. Bye for now.
Thank you, and bye for now.